Well, let's bring in Angus Taylor now, who is the Shadow Treasurer. Angus Taylor, good morning to you. So you've just heard some stories there from small businesses. You know, a cafe here in Bribie Island where he says the true cost of a coffee should be $10. That's how a cafe should survive, by charging that. Whereas you've got, you know, a bakery, a bread-making business with a bill at $15,000 a quarter for energy. I mean, what comes to mind when you hear those kinds of stories?
Look, extraordinary stories, Pete, and I really feel for small business people around this country right now. I grew up, of course, in a farming small business family, and I know how hard it is. It is everything in your life. It's all around you all the time. And when conditions are like they have been over the last couple of years, it's incredibly difficult. And I just do think that this is a government that doesn't care less. We've seen 30,000 insolvencies since Labor came to power. That's a record number. An 18% reduction in incomes of small business people, a much bigger hit to the incomes of small business people than the average across Australia, which is still the worst reduction in our standard of living in history, but it's double that for small business people. So we've got to make it easier. And the points that small business people you were just talking to made about making it easier to employ people, about driving down energy prices. I mean, these are exactly right. I know this is the way forward, and getting rid of unnecessary red tape, not just in terms of employing people, but more generally the way the regulators deal with small business, the way the tax office deals with small business. We've seen it all get worse over the last couple of years. We've got to free it up. We've got to make sure small business has a pathway forward. And most of all, Pete, we've got to restore hope.
Right.
Because as one of those small business owners said, if young Australians say, nah, I'm not going into small business, we lose the backbone of our communities, the backbone of our economy, the backbone of employment in this country.
Could you see, you know, in the horizon that a cup of coffee would cost $10, Angus?
Well, you know, you just heard, I think it was Mick say, I can't remember which one it was, say that that's what it would be if he was to get through. Now, you know what? The IMF has told us that inflation is going up again, not down. It's told us that. Labor has not beaten inflation, and Labor won't beat inflation because they will not cut waste, they will not slash red tape, they will not make it easier for businesses to invest to boost growth. And the result of that is that you don't beat inflation, you don't boost growth, you don't fix energy and housing, these critical markets we've got to fix to restore hope to Australians. Now, we saw this yesterday where the S&P, the biggest credit rating agency in the world, has said there's a real risk to our AAA rating. You know what that means, Pete? It means every Australian pays more for a loan, including small business people, most of whom have to borrow money.
Well, the Prime Minister was mocking the S&P.
That is not a sustainable situation for Australians. Well, he was mocking the S&P. I mean, this is the Prime Minister. Of course, this is a Prime Minister who mocks the stage when he falls off it. I mean, seriously. He lies every day. And Labor doesn't care less about those hard-working Australians you were just talking to now. As I say, they're the backbone of the country. We need them to see hope, to see opportunity, and that's what I'm on about. This is why I'm in politics, is to support people like them to get through, to get ahead, and others to want to do exactly what they're doing.
Okay. So if the S&P has problems with the spending of this current government, I mean, you've been just as loose with spending as well, so could those S&P concerns be directed your way?
Well, that's not right, Pete. As you know, because I've spoken to you many times over the last couple of years, over the last 3 years we've opposed over $100 billion of unnecessary Labor spending, not in essential services like health. We've made that distinction. But in areas where we don't need to spend money, we don't need to build 28,000 kilometres of transmission lines crisscrossing our most beautiful agricultural land in this country. We don't need housing programs that have not delivered a single house that an Australian family is living in. We don't need manufacturing programs that invest in West Coast American quantum companies. I mean, seriously, this is money that doesn't need to be spent. And you'll see in our costings, which will come out this week in line with what is the normal practice, a stronger budget position than Labor.
Not much time left, Angus.
Hard work. And we will re-establish the rule book for the budget.
It's strategic to leave it so late?
Well, this is in line with what it's been in the past, including Labor at the last election. So, you know, but we've laid out, Pete, over 3 years where we oppose bad Labor spending. You've heard it, and I've been on your program and talked about it many times.
Yeah.
You've got to get the balance right here. We've got to fix the government budget as well as the household budget.
Look, I'm almost out of time. There's a couple of questions I just want to squeeze in. I mean, the Treasurer, he's found about $7 billion in savings, or says the budget's better off now than what it was pre-election. I mean, it is a snip when you compare to overall debt and deficit. Have you got a reaction to that this morning?
Look, these guys just lie every day. I mean, it's extraordinary, Pete. So $180 billion of red ink over the next 4 years, on our way towards $1.2 trillion of debt. And this Treasurer pats himself on the back and says what a good job he's doing. He's out of touch. He's out of his depth. He doesn't understand what makes an economy work. He doesn't understand those small business people you were just talking to. He doesn't understand what it's going to take to restore hope for Australians.
He's also not at all shy about going after unrealised gains. I mean, I've spoken about this in my program a number of times. I just don't see, even though it's a small percentage of people, how it's fair to tax a gain that hasn't happened yet. And some people have concerns about what that might mean down the track. Have you got a response to that this morning? And why aren't you making a bigger deal?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Pete, we have made a big deal of it from the day this was announced. From the day it was announced, I was out on media channels like your own saying this is completely unacceptable to go after unrealised capital gains. They're unrealised. So small business people like the ones you were just talking to will have some land, or some farmers will have some of their land in a self-managed super fund, and the value of that will go up. There won't be cash to pay tax, but they're going to have to pay tax. And you know what that means? They'll have to sell off their business. This is diabolical. It's only Labor could dream this stuff up. We've been absolutely opposed to it from day one. We've been unambiguously clear about that. You'll see that in our costings. Lower taxes. This is one of the areas of lower taxes for Australians, because we will not impose this bad tax on hardworking Australians. And if the Greens
and just a final
Labor team up, which is a very real risk, it's going to get worse.
Okay, just a final one, Angus, before we go. Mick, who's now not making bread anymore, he's got to move to sourdough. He just asked then if a next government would consider more subsidies for those huge energy bills that he's got. Would you consider that?
What we want is lower energy prices. Then taxpayers don't have to pay for it and businesses don't have to pay for it. And the key to that is reserving gas, pumping it into our system. Well, we want lower... What Mick wants, I'm sure, if you ask, he wants lower prices, and I don't blame him. He deserves it because Labor has blown up our energy system. Let's drive more gas into the system, reserve Australian gas, working hard for Australians.
Okay, it's been plenty for us to talk about this morning, but I appreciate your time, Angus Taylor. It's the Shadow Treasurer, Angus Taylor, joining us live on the program.